Hey, Austin. Austin, can you hear me?
Maybe you are not. Sorry, I can't talk over there since I'm not on the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you good.
All right, good. I'm gonna mute myself then.
Testing, testing.
I
Testing,
hear you.
testing. Okay, good, cool. Hey, Andy, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, but I'm having trouble bringing up the agenda on my iPad.
That's unfortunate. Not much I can do from this end.
All I've got is the work session meeting when I open it up.
If you can't get it to work, Andy, you can always get it on the website.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know why it's not in eScribe for some reason.
If you may need to close out the app and reopen it. If you left it open from the last time you used it, it'll time out and won't work.
Yeah, I did. I did that. Swipe it up. It goes back into the tab bar.
You have to swipe up and hold and then dismiss it when it shrinks on screen,
Okay.
and then try reopening it. That forces it closed.
Shrunk. Okay. It's not doing anything. I don't know why. All right, I'm gonna try to go to my phone then. Let's see.
I'm sure I gotta behave.
No.
She said she had for anything. She said she had banana.
I'm just turning lights on.
Oh, that's fine. She said she had banana pudding for the first, I think that was her first solid food for a while.
I went to their grandson's event. It was well attended.
Okay, are you about ready?
Yeah, I am. I'm just waiting for him to.
Austin,
give me-
you ready? Wait, wait, wait.
Yes, all right. Okay, welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the September 13th, 2022 regular meeting to order. I show that we have we have one council member. I thought you were going to be gone, so you made it. Welcome.
He's here. See him?
Welcome from New York, Andy. So I'll need a motion to consider allowing council members to participate remotely.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have adoption of the agenda. Do we have any changes we want to, or
I need to add a closed session to consult with the village attorney. I don't have the number in front of me.
The number's in motion. You don't have it.
I don't know where it is.
You can just say you're adding that, and then we do the.
I'm adding that.
you'll have it for us?
Yeah, it'll be whenever you do the
That's
reset.
how we roll. Okay, anything else?
Uh-uh.
Andy, you're good?
Yes, sir.
And you can hear us okay?
Oh, yeah.
All right, terrific. All right, with that, I'll need a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. So moved. All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, next up, we have public comment period. Do we have anybody signed up?
Yes, first we'll start with a written comment that was submitted. We have a comment from Jill James of 8504 Viking Drive.
Jill James.
Okay.
Are you going to read that for us?
Yes, I got it right here. Jill states, I'm asking for council's full support to be put towards the effort to construct the Bonds Grove Church Road / Waxhaw Marvin Road roundabout. There are over 150 homes and families, your constituents in Marvin, beyond this intersection on Waxhaw Marvin, and countless other residents that use Bonds Grove and Waxhaw Marvin roads to access Marvin Ridge High School, Marvin Ridge Middle School, and Sandy Ridge schools on a daily basis. The increase in traffic to and from Waxhaw compounds the current problems with speeding, cyclists, and construction traffic in making the safe left turn towards Marvin hazardous for all drivers. Drivers must rely on other oncoming drivers signaling their intent to turn onto Bonds Grove Church Road or bear right towards Waxhaw on Waxhaw Marvin Road and navigate poor sight lines and making a safe turn. In the mornings, the line of cars waiting to turn left from Waxhaw Marvin towards the schools and beyond can extend beyond the Marvin Town Limit sign near Viking Drive. Many residents participated in a survey regarding the question of a roundabout versus traffic light here some time ago. This project has been needed for many years. It should be prioritized for construction as soon as possible. Please prioritize cooperation in this project. Appreciatively, Jill Janes.
Thank you. Stay tuned. We may be talking a little bit about that, so later today.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yes, we have quite a few people signed up. We'll start with, and if I butcher anyone's name, I apologize. Al Ahmed, 448, is that Lansbury? Okay. If you'll come up to the front.
So, have we gotten the microphone thing figured out yet?
We don't, we'll need to use one of these. We'll have a microphone up on the podium next month, so we'll still have to use these for now.
Okay, so where would they have them talk from?
So it's in the screen. If he uses the mic next to Jill and Bob there, then it's within the screen, what I can see at home.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to just have them pull up a chair here?
How about you, Austin, just turn the computer to this one?
Okay, whichever works.
Well, yeah,
Just do that. That'll be
yeah,
easier.
where's he gonna speak from?
Right there with that
Okay.
microphone.
All right. So
Thanks,
we're gonna
Walter.
do that for you, Andy, and just turn the speaker,
Christina, just
put them on the
Hey,
edge.
there's Chaplain Christina. I couldn't see them earlier.
They got nothing to say to you.
Okay. All right, yeah. If you just want to come up here to this microphone. right
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh,
I put a note in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my son and myself, we are here to attend this.
Okay.
As part of our Boy Scout requirements to be, he's an Eagle Scout candidate, so he has to fill out a requirement to attend one of these meetings
Okay.
and take notes and watch what are the things that are being discussed.
watch how government works.
Yes,
We move very slowly, unfortunately, but we still work.
that's fine, that's fine.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Okay.
My
So basically, the rules for anyone speaking, you introduce yourself, your address, and we give you 3 minutes. I'm going to have Kim do the timekeeping for me, if you don't mind, Kim. And, just obviously keep it clean and we are not here to respond to anything. That's what we have coffee with council for. So there's opportunities in the morning and evening, twice a month. So it's just an opportunity for you to share whatever you want, and you got 3 minutes to do it. But name, address, and we'll give you 3 minutes.
Okay. Next up is John Barasich of 3315 Sandalwood Lane.
I know, John.
Yes, John Barasich, 3315 Sandalwood Lane in Providence Estates. And I am here today to speak on behalf of the Providence Estates Property Owners Association in support of the roundabout. We submitted a more complete letter to Austin in support. I heard Jill Janes, who I believe is from Valhalla, and similar to that situation. From a school's perspective, that intersection is very important to us. I was worried about getting signed up for public comment. There's actually an accident there right now. So when I was actually coming here, there were 2 cars. Somebody got into the back of someone. So certainly, there was a survey that went out a while ago. I know a number of our neighborhood residents participated in it. And largely, they support the roundabout, but if in the event the roundabout, a light was something also considered, something is necessary. So we think it's probably best to pay a little bit more for a longer-term solution that seems to have worked well at Newtown. So I'm here to present, our board support in lieu of the roundabout. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, next up.
Next up is Angel Martin, 8914 Laurelwood Lane.
I didn't realize that John was going to be here. I'm in Providence Estates too, and I'm here for the exact same reason. That intersection where Waxhaw Marvin is and Bonds Grove is very dangerous. And we have a lot of high school drivers. And as he just said, there was an accident there on my way here. So I hope that y'all will put it as a priority because we really need it. Thank you.
Thanks, Angel.
Next up is a representative of the Winmore HOAs. I can't quite, Brian,
Brian Connaughton.
Brian?
Yep,
can
Brian.
you spell your last name for me?
It's Connaughton. It's a long one there.
And where do you live, Brian?
Okay, I live at 103 McNeil Court
Okay.
in Whitmore. I'm the president of the HOA here, and of course, we have the treasurer. So we're inquiring about making our subdivision roads private, right, instead of being a public road right now, because our intention is to gate the community. We had a conversation already with Hunter regarding this matter. We also understand the council has discussed topics previously about letting gates happen and roads and things like that. Our desire to put the gate in the community with the HOA is the whole community. We took a vote, so everyone is in favor of the gate. We have unanimous vote for that. And a lot of reasons why we're doing it. For one, because of all the construction, we're getting bombarded with cement trucks pulling in there, construction people pulling off, waiting right when Providence down south put their gates up. We have so much more traffic coming through. I think they're trying to find a way into that subdivision. They think because we're that loops around us. So, and then we're getting all different kind of cars, traffic, pulling into our subdivision. And it would be one thing if they're just turning around, but since they're coming very quickly, we have a lot of young kids in that subdivision, so they're kind of speeding through, trying to get in or get out. We're getting a lot of cars in the middle of the night, kind of going, a couple of neighbors found cars parked in our little cul-de-sacs. And, so kind of like figuring what are these people doing here? Obviously the safety concern, but just the traffic. I mean, my own personal house, I had a big, huge truck and trailer with a Bobcat on it, guy sitting blocking my whole driveway and confronted me to get him to move. He's like, what do you want me to do? Because I guess that new construction. Well, I don't know, it was either move or call the cops or problem, so I know, so that's our goal there, because just for, not only for, not just safety, but just we're getting a lot of traffic, especially there's more subdivisions coming in, and for whatever reason, there's nowhere to park on, Waxhaw Marvin Road. So there are these construction workers, vehicles, they're pulling anywhere they can to wait. Like, I know there was like 3 dump trucks lined up, just waiting for the concrete in that house that was just built right there. So, I mean, and everyone can visit our subdivision, the roads aren't that wide. So if you start parking in there, homeowners are having a difficult time getting in and out. So we're thinking for a lot of reasons, and I'm sure the construction is only gonna get worse with those new subdivisions coming in and the amount of traffic and cars pulling through. So that's our goal, is to do a gate and, have permission to do that and allow us to take those roads private so we can accomplish that. All right, thank you.
Thanks for your time. Brian, thank you. All right, next up.
Mr. Mayor, that is everyone who has signed up.
Okay. Thank you all for coming and showing up and presenting to us. And again, I encourage you all to We have a schedule on coffee with council. We even provide donuts. Ask this couple there, they're always there. You know, you can talk freely. It goes back and forth and stuff, but we'll see what we can do about putting any of the concerns on the agenda if they're not already on the agenda. So, but we do encourage you to do that. It's a good way to get to know your councilman and speak freely back and forth. So, moving on, we have presentations. That would be me next up. Okay, presentation and plaque to Austin Yao in recognition of achieving the certified municipal clerk certification.
Fancy plaque.
This is going to look really good in your office, the way you're doing it.
My well-decorated office, yes.
Well, I
Hey,
will tell you this,
Can you guys swing the camera back around so the rest of us can see?
You don't want to look at Christina anymore?
There we go. Thank you.
so, and, Austin, if you want to come up here for a second, I'll give everyone a chance in council to speak. But I know this is something that you were after from the time you got here, so it's taken how long?
Just over 2 years.
2 years of classes. So I will tell you what, I couldn't think of a better clerk for this position. You have been on it from day one. Even what impressed me most, I will say this, is when we went to WUMA, the first WUMA meeting where you were taking notes, I think before I even left the meeting, I had in my mailbox, which I checked at that time, I had in my mailbox the minutes already finished for that. That's how fast he was with that. So this is a guy when you go to and you need something done, this is the guy that's going to get it done. So I want to congratulate you on getting this. The International Institute of Municipal Clerks hereby confers the title of Certified Municipal Clerk upon Austin Wayne Yao, CMC, who has completed the requirements prescribed by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks for certification. You must remain an active member for IIMC. Yeah, you know, is that classes you have to continue to take?
Yeah, there's still
Okay, it's kind of like real estate. Okay. So, but
less money involved.
congratulations to that. And I'll open it up to the, any of the council members or staff for that matter. Or if you want to say a few words first, and then we'll let you do
Way to
that.
put me on the spot. It's always a pleasure working here. It's the privilege of a lifetime to be in public service. We don't do it, we definitely don't do it for the money, but it's a very rewarding experience to have a positive effect on the lives of just normal everyday people.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
You're so good.
All right. Next up, we have reports and updates. We'll start with the manager's report.
I don't have anything, sir.
You're just on it, you know. All right. All right. Moving on, planners report.
So I just have a few items,
Hunter?
give you guys an update on. First being the Pulte Park update. I finally heard back from the property manager. She said that she's been struggling to get contact information / they elected the board and getting them all together, but they should be having a meeting within the next month and she will notify me on that. But positive news that she finally emailed me back after 3 times of trying. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. They had not met yet. So once they gather together and set a date, she said she would let me know. So Marvin Loop update, I think I mentioned this prior, is that we've submitted our contract with NCDOT for the project. But basically that's the first step. Should have that agreement for you guys hopefully in the next month. With that being said, I'm going to move forward with getting an RFP for the engineering and stuff for the project and hopefully get that out probably in the next week or so. So then once we get that agreement, then the funding's approved, but that agreement's the first thing to basically let money move for us to be able to use it. Then we can go ahead and enter into a contract with for the project and keep moving forward on that. Winmore, so 2 things there is, I don't know if I mentioned to you prior, we're in the process of claiming their bond from the developer that has not finished those improvements. He was given till Thursday he basically offered to pay the $138,000, which is the quoted bond cost outright to the village. That was given, he was given till Thursday, September 15th to pay that. He emailed me and the bond claim agency this morning, basically stating that he's going through a closing on one of the developments and should have the funds within the next couple of days. I'm still going to proceed forward one way or another, but my goal is to have that bond claim so we can get those improvements finished. Hopefully within the next month and a half, at least knowing that those funds are coming. I feel pretty confident. I mean, everything that we submitted to the bond agency on the evidence of his failure to do the work, even though he said that he's wanted to. I have all that documented and we've given him plenty of opportunity. So our goal is to try to get those funds one way or another and get that project fully closed out. With that being said, as you were, informed in public comment, they have reached out to me about gates and, private roads. Per our ordinance right now, we do not allow one private roads in any subdivision other than a rural subdivision. We also don't allow gates outside of if it's on private property. With that all being said, I'll be working on a text amendment because I have had another inquiry from a potential development that wants to do private roads. So I'm going to discuss that further with you guys here in your work session later this month, as well as probably take a draft text amendment to planning board next week.
How many homes are in there?
And Winmore,
Yeah,
16? 12.
12. So the one they did across the street was what, 8?
At Three Pond,
Yeah, that was,
it's 6 or 8 lots. But if rural, per our ordinance, rural is defined as, it was originally 20, when the gates, I think they did a text amendment, so it's, the parent tract has to be 12 acres, and then pretty much all the lots have to be, can be less than 2.5, but no less than 2, and the average of all the lots be like 2.5 acres. So Winmore was approved as a conservation subdivision, per our ordinance. So those roads were platted as public, and that's kind of one step in the process that, through this text amendment, they would have to do that on their end to get that, and there would be a final plat revision, and all of that would come through to you guys.
and are they built out in there?
Yes,
They're complete.
they've been built out for about 2 years.
Okay.
And basically
Full
what,
disclosure, I've not turned in there or turned around in that area, so that's why I don't know.
but they've been, this process of claiming their bond started, I think, with Rohit like last May before I started. Basically, when I started, it kind of took it on, and we gave Russ, the developer, who the bond is, he's personally guaranteed it, basically then claimed to want to complete some of the work. So we gave him till November, didn't complete any of the work, gave him, another warning, because basically that give him till March to do it, because he wouldn't be able to put the final layer on till March anyway, and that's the final step. So once all that passed, we started with the bond agency back in April, and then of course Russ came through saying he wanted to pay. So it's kind of held up on the claims end, but I'm hoping, like I said, one way or another, we're going to receive those funds to get that project completed.
Okay, so you're going to bring this one to a work session?
The gates and private roads.
Okay, and what other neighborhood?
Well, there's been some inquiries from other neighborhoods overall in the
Okay.
past, and so we'll, basically, this text amendment, the goal would be, it's gonna allow for private platted roads. It would allow for gates on private roads. There would be a process in place, but however, we want to make sure that process isn't where other neighborhoods that it's either our right now that we maintain or NCDOT maintain, that they're aware of what all they have to go through to make sure to get them as private, because that's going to be the first step to allow for a gate in the first place.
Okay. Anything else?
Finally, at the WUMA meeting last month, they all came to, they've been discussing with the county or trying to approach the county on the discussion of ETJs. That will also be on your guys' work session for discussion later this month. I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update. Basically, Weddington has drafted a draft resolution trying to get the county to support or to, give the municipality some type of ETJ. I'm gonna take what Weddington's done and kind of make it our own, and, we can discuss it. And if you guys would like to move forward, we can adopt that resolution to submit back to WUMA / proceed to the county with it.
And I think our goal WUMA was to get in front of county to present each our resolutions
Correct.
and
Is it
stuff.
kind of as a united front of all those municipalities?
Okay.
That's all I've got unless you guys have any questions or anything.
Andy, any questions?
No, sir.
Anyone else? Thank you, Hunter. Moving on, roads report. Come on.
So we are actually looking at doing the GO bond discussion starting at the next work session. So we've had a lot of traction with, well, not a lot, we've had some discussion with DOT about the potential for entering a multi-year agreement with them. You were in that meeting, Mayor. So we'll bring together a plan of how we're going to go through the next year, talking about roads, how much things are going to cost, what the project scope's going to be, and then we'll continue those discussions with DOT. We've set some goalposts for them to get back with us about some concerns they had. So I'll have some more answers for you at the next work session on that. The contract for the AMT road resurfacing should start in the next couple of weeks, so we should have that back in the next few months.
Okay, anything else? All right, thank you, Christina. Deputies report. What do you have for us, sir?
Tommy, can you step up to the microphone so Andy can hear you?
Yeah, we know who you are.
August has actually been a good month. We've had 579 calls for service. Traffic stops were about 70, roughly about 70 traffic stops, citations issued. We've also got our new radar sign up and going. It is out in the community. Don't know if anybody's seen it, but it is definitely out there and doing some good. So that's it.
So, just out of curiosity.
Yes.
When you see traffic stop, does it tell you how many times you're ticketing someone, or is there?
It does.
70 times.
Wait a minute, they only had 69 traffic stops.
69 times.
I know of one verbal warning in there, so.
Okay.
I don't think that it added that to it.
All right. So, no, that's good to know that usually, you know, what you're stopping, you're usually stopping them for a reason and, you
That's
know.
it.
Our top speeds have gone down.
Yeah.
Good.
We're in like the 100s,
Yes,
now
they
they're
were.
in the upper 80s.
In their upper 80s, hopefully it'll keep working its way down.
Yeah,
Those are expensive tickets.
Done, now we're just in the race.
yeah. Well, thank you again for your service and, you know, again,
Be safe.
yeah, it's good that, doesn't look like there's a lot of things, alarming things anyways at this point, so. Thank you. All right, moving on. Thank you. Planning board report.
Unfortunately, there was not a planning board meeting. Last month, they didn't have a quorum, so it was canceled.
Okay. When's our next meeting scheduled? Is it next Tuesday? Okay. Next up, PR&G board report. Kim
Do it, John.
or John?
You want to do it? Here, come up.
Can you sit right here?
All right.
I wasn't prepared for this, but we had our regular board meeting pushed till today with the holiday and so forth. Talked a lot about addressing some of the water issues around the new town hall here today. They had a gully washer yesterday that really kind of gave us some indications of some of the direction that we need to go to help alleviate some of those things. But other than that, just doing our regular work from month to month. And we had a really successful national night out. There were approximately 500 people there. And, you know, so much so that, you know, a lot of the things that we kind of implemented this year will look to continue. And that's really it, I think.
Yeah, we've got the trunk or treat coming up at the end of October. On the 28th, it's gonna be, I think trunk or treat's gonna go from like 5 to 7, and then so Andy can hear me. And then the movie's gonna start around 7:30, I think. And then, we've got our friendship tree, which we are going to put up after meaning council is gonna put up after our work session meeting on the 27th. And I think Bob Nunnecamp said that we're getting the tags on November 1st for that. Was that right? Roughly in there. So we're gonna start advertising that to the public that they can start, come in and start to pull tags for families. And I think that's about it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, John. You did well for not being prepared.
Sorry, John.
Kim did that to you, by the way, so. All right, moving forward, Village Hall.
You skipped the consent agenda.
I did, didn't I? I'm jumping ahead. Sorry. D is consent agenda. I'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, I don't have anything for public hearing. Is that just a sitting placeholder? All right, moving on. Village Hall.
I'm actually going to turn it over to Jamie. She's going to give you a capital update on the expenditures.
All right.
You can see in your packet, I added, I went ahead and put it in here so you can all look at it this time. So far, we have, let me see here, sorry. We have remaining from the original contract, $4,200 left to pay out. There were a total of $116,672 in change orders that we paid to Randolph. We have spent around $101,000 so far in contingency, and that leaves us with the remaining about $190,000 in the capital project fund. And this is as of September 7th when I did these numbers. So there might be a few contingency items out of there, but we have about $190,000 left in this fund. So just to kind of.
And that can be used essentially for what?
Well, I have something.
She has some things to spend it on.
No heliport.
So speaking of that, we actually have had some issues pop up with irrigation on the property. Derek met with our irrigation vendor that's supposed to be doing the roundabout that we just recently awarded probably a month or two ago. He actually had some other suggestions of what we should do. So I'm going to let Derek speak to give y'all an update on that.
So Christina got a contract approved with Water Saver Irrigation, local guy. When he was negotiating the price for whatever, it came across council's radar to ask him about providing irrigation for the grounds, not just the roundabouts. So I recently met with him and discussed that with him. And what you see before you is sort of a write-up with just his thoughts on it. He suggested instead of going directly to the roundabouts, that if we wanted to irrigate the Village Hall property, that we could do that and then just tie off of those out to the roundabouts. He also said, that the roundabouts are pretty established and they look good, and that we don't need to spend as much money going directly to them. We could, put more money into the grounds here, getting heads to the different areas of the lawn, irrigating most of this property, and then just sort of tying in to that to get irrigation too.
So refresh my memory real quick. We're on the hook for maintaining, but it's still DOTs, correct?
The roundabouts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you
I'm
answer that?
asking because
Councilmember Wortman, I just picture text you what was passed out so you have it. The roundabouts are DOTs, but we have a planting agreement with them, so it's an encroachment agreement essentially. So yes, we would be responsible for maintaining that.
His original quote to run irrigation to the roundabouts was around 15,000. Is that right? So what he's proposing here is 22.8. You can read all the details if you want to, but he's basically talking about two main lines with heads that would spray in a 30-foot radius to basically cover all of the main areas. I think obviously we would want to, consider the rain garden, the dry creek bed, whatever's going to go there, and not put a line where it's going to eventually get clipped or have to be altered. But if we do want to irrigate the property, which I think would be beneficial, he's prepared to do that with this quote.
Do we not have irrigation now? Do we not have irrigation now?
We do, but it's very limited. It's in the areas that have sod and where there's plantings. So it's just really around the perimeter, around the building, and then along the property line over there.
So it's mostly on the driveways or the parking lot side, mostly.
Mostly.
Except right up against the building.
Right.
Doug said it was very minimal,
Yeah.
basically.
I mean, that controller can handle 13 zones, I think, and we're only using 4. Andy, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, the new controller, which I haven't installed yet, that's Wi-Fi compatible, will handle 12 zones. And once because I have to have Derek with me to install it because he has to learn how to use it and put in his credentials and such. So we just haven't gotten together on that. But yes, they're right. It is very limited. It's only around the building and a couple of small turf areas. That's why I actually was the one that raised the question of, can we get a quote? Because we have a lot of turf out there, especially on the backside of this parking lot that's not getting watered, and it is suffering from lack of water. And if we want to have nice turf at Village Hall, we're going to have to look at expanding the irrigation system. And if I may weigh in on the roundabouts, yes, they're established and they're looking good right at this moment. But if we have a dry summer, that could change very quickly. So I wouldn't suggest, forgetting about the roundabouts. We spent a lot of money on those plants. We're trying to keep those looking nice. That's why we got the encouragement agreement to begin with. And I would hate to have, a couple of dry summers back to back to ruin all of that.
Well, Andy, do you think that it makes sense to prioritize Village Hall space, since we're gonna do some plantings this fall and make sure that those are well irrigated to get the root system going, and then maybe in the spring, we can do the next phase to the roundabouts?
This quote includes the roundabouts.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, he's laying it out a different way. So instead, what we originally proposed was 2 direct lines to the roundabouts, like going straight out to Newtown from the well. He's talking about branching off of the Village Hall grounds and then just tying into that with the roundabout to get to the roundabouts.
He's
So it'll
he's
be on
the
one of
expert
the
on
zones.
the design of the irrigation. So as long as we're getting water to him, however he wants to lay it out, and it sounds to me like it's going to be a lot cheaper to do all of this all at once, going from 15 to 22 versus 15 standalone for just the roundabouts, and then we have to add all the rest. So it sounds to me like it's a better plan what he's come up with. I haven't had a chance to really look through it, but it sounds much better from my end.
So just
But it's both. It's both
It is
roundabouts and it's Village Hall grounds at
Correct.
the same time.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. An additional 8, basically, to just redesign it.
If you don't irrigate, then you typically get weeds or dried out plants and stuff, because that's usually what happens. So, but I assume they'll be using it off of, it'll be on its own zone for this roundabout and separate zone. 'Cause we
Yeah.
have 12, it sounds like we can deal with this, so, which is good. I just worry about the future roundabout and how we get water to that one, which will be interesting.
So just for clarity's sake, I think this only includes the Village Hall site. It does not include the irrigation lines to the roundabouts.
I mean, item F says install 1.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean,
Yep.
You know, we can.
You're good.
We can
I didn't see
verify
that.
that, but
So
The way he
he's
did-
just,
the way
he's installing a line here. He's not actually putting, to each plant and stuff.
No, it's gonna be like a, you know.
And I don't know if it's gonna be I think good sound effects though. Yeah. No, I don't know if it's gonna be, because I don't know if that's designed for that. I think those are meant to be like a drip system, correct? And this doesn't show that.
I defer to the expert on the irrigation.
Andy, it would be drip
Well,
system.
I think,
Well, okay,
I think
most
we
of it,
allow him to,
Yeah.
you know, meet with. the
most of it
vendor
will
and
be drip.
Dictate the details.
Yeah, most of it'll be drip, but there will be some sprayers for the turf. But this guy is, this is what he does. He can design these zones to be efficient, use the best. So it sounds to me like he's doing the roundabout by what I can see on the contract. So we can follow up with him on details, but it looks like that's the whole package. So.
So I'm looking up the finance policy real quick, because if we're going to proceed with this, I'm just gonna have to get y'all to waiver the section of finance policy that requires a 3 bids for over 10,000.
The only thing I will say, and I will caution, if you remember, Jamie, I don't know if you do, but in our neighborhood, when we looked at irrigating, what was the easement between the main road, which is Marvin, and Firethorn, there's a gate in between. We wanted water out on that side. DOT got involved and talked about, what about the winter months and the ice that you create, and who's going to be responsible for that? So before we go forward on any of this, I would strongly recommending us talking to DOT, because it's going to matter what kind of drip system you put in there, and you can't necessarily just put a rotor system in there that's going to spray out into the streets. And when it gets icy, that creates a whole other problem.
So we
You're
should
talking
have
about the
some-
roundabout. Like, you're not,
I'm talking about before we do anything with this, that we make sure because all we have is a right to put plants in there. Now, you do have to water it, but before we go into any system that we do, I'm just saying that DOT is going to want to be involved in that, because they did not allow us at Firethorn, because we wanted to make between the gate and Marvin look really nice. So we wanted to put, and we're on a well system, we wanted to put a water sprinkler system in there. And they came back to us and said, no, we're not going to let you do that.
but do you not remember when we were doing the roundabouts and we were installing, maybe it was the plants, I'm not sure, but that we had to change the grade of it because we said, we're gonna have this irrigated and it has to have a certain like
Fall.
Like they know, and we had to
They-
get permission to put in the conduit
Please.
for that.
So you never
So
know.
they know that,
Well,
they
what
know
they-
it's coming.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Christina, but we did get permission to put that out there, and they said that we had to have a drain if we were going to have irrigation, so that the roundabout would drain. And we have that with the conduit. They're going to open that conduit up, run their pipe out, and we could put a drain gate on it, and that'll be the drain.
Yeah,
So-
because the drain was expensive and they didn't tell
Right.
us anything about it and we had to
Right.
put it in there. So they know it's coming.
And that's fine, but keep in mind, if you have a rotor system that's spraying beyond the roundabout, that's gonna be an issue. And if they're quoting that, we gotta make sure we have the right.
Right.
The right stuff, and I'm not sure if that's in here.
So Derek,
Yeah, and this is a little different because you have an encroachment agreement with DOT. So they know what you're doing. They know that you're going to be there and you have a legal right to be there. I do think they wanted the drain to make sure that there's not too much, but usually you're going to reduce watering significantly in the winter, especially when it's cold.
So
Absolutely.
Christina-
Not turn it off.
so if Christina and Derek can just confirm with
Okay.
Doug and just make sure that we're not having a big old rotor in the roundabouts getting everywhere, that it's probably just those little pop-up little mister guys. And then you can maybe confirm all that and then bring that back to us at the work session.
Okay. One thing, Joe, what you're talking about, and I know one subdivision in this area, not in Union County, but in Mecklenburg County, they irrigated the median and everything, and the roads broke up froze, the DOT says, because you overwatered, you put water on the road and froze, you have to replace the pavement.
That doesn't surprise me.
Um,
And all I'm saying is, we just want to make sure whatever we do, it's gonna drain within the system that we have already created there and not go beyond that, so.
All right, so you guys can confirm all that and then bring it back to us at the work session. Christina?
Yes, we can do that. Are y'all making a motion on this today? or-
No, we need some clarification, make sure we're good and bring it back to us at the work session and then we can vote on it.
And I'll get a diagram drawn out to,
Of what's gonna be, whether it's gonna be
Exactly. yeah, he wasn't really prepared to do this for us, but I told him we needed it for tonight and he expedited his write-up.
Yeah, and Andy, since you're not here in person, we'll volunteer you to look it over and get a second set of eyes on it.
Well, I was gonna do that anyway, Joe, so.
I know. All right,
We're still,
we're still with you, Jamie. We haven't left you yet, so thank you.
So the only other thing I had, I know we were going to do panels in here. So, but this is just to keep in mind what you have left to work with as we move forward and the projects you want to do here.
And that 190 is in the payment?
No,
It is not.
No.
It's not part of the payment. It's additional funds.
yeah,
that
it's
we-
the capital project part.
Okay. Any questions for Jamie?
Thank you, Jane.
You're
Thank
welcome.
Thank you. Moving on to unfinished business. We have Powell Bill funding tracker update.
So I'll actually open this up and just mention, this is a tracker form that you guys looked at. We look at it annually. We looked at it at the retreat. It started some discussions about the vehicle tax that we implemented in July. A lot of these discussions have also evolved, kind of projecting out where Powell Bill is and what big projects we have coming up. Staff has prepared this live tracker so we can plug numbers in to look at different projects. This kind of coincides with our ability to fund any potential roundabout discussions that may happen subsequent to this item tonight. It would also talk about the CRTPO grant that we've got for the sidewalks and any other major projects that we've got coming up that we plan on spending Powell Bill dollars for. This, when previous councils got into the roads business, there was a lot of things that we didn't, at that point in time, plan for, like these larger projects, roundabouts, the construction overruns that we're seeing nowadays. A lot of the sidewalk repairs that we didn't encompass to pay for. A lot of things that just weren't planned out. And so we've had a lot of changes and adjustments that we have to make over the last couple of years. They'll sit down and go through this with you so you can plug numbers in and see where projects are and how it affects our bottom line. I'll turn it over to you guys and let you handle it.
I'm gonna try to get this to work. Our mouse is. Does it work over here though? I don't know if it has the range. Okay. All right, so what we included in your guys' package has been kind of updated to show more of a real-time, if I can get this to work. That's not fun. Let me see if I can.
A couple of things I'll note while he's working on that is you'll see the revenues for Powell Bill are relatively stable. And as you know, we've increased in road linear footage a lot over the last several years. However, the way the Powell Bill allocations are generated, most of it is from population and not mileage. So you're going to see very, very minimal increases in Powell Bill funding. So we kept it stable for that reason. I mean, over the last year, we may have seen additional $1,000. So it's so inconsequential that it's really not even worth adding it on there for changes unless something major happens with the legislator in terms of how they allocate those funds.
Christina, What am I looking at October 1st allocate? Oh, I'm looking at both of them together.
Yeah, so basically what this shows is the next kind of 10 fiscal year. I mean, it shows last year's allocation going all the way through fiscal year 30. What this has is our estimated revenue from PAL bill itself. We get it in two allocations, one in October, one in January. So that's kind of what all the revenues are. Kind of some other highlights on the revenues is you will see last year, there's that 99,000 allocation. That was the transfer done from fund balance. I've added in 138,000 just to kind of show you guys some numbers. This is kind of contingent upon either, I mean, using that funds for the Marvin Loop match that's being pulled from the Loop capital fund or Loop fund balance, the assigned fund balance that you guys have for the Loop projects.
Before you get into that, let's make sure, so that's money that we identified to fund that sidewalk project. Are you guys looking on your?
Yeah,
the-
yeah, you might want to
Well,
look
let's-
up.
Yeah, let's,
I would look up here. I can't like. You can. I might just need you to stand up at the.
before we go in the live, let me explain this real fast because y'all are looking at your static versions. Before we start playing with it, I want to make sure you understand the sheets and how they've worked out. So you'll see the revenues up at the top, as he's mentioned. We basically get 2 allocations a year, roughly $70,000 every allocation. So you see those 2 allocations. In the middle there, you see the 142 for the estimated vehicle tax revenue. That's the 2 years of that ordinance that we put in place to get that additional revenue. And we only kept it for 2 years because that's how long the ordinance was, that's how long y'all created it for. So we kept it at that. You'll have the $25,000 that you just approved for the allocations from Union County for the roundabout project. So that's that 25,000. And then basically you see all those revenues from the top for the next 10 years. Any questions on that section at all? On revenues? Okay, moving down to expenditures. You see all the preventative maintenance schedule expenditures. Those are derived from our pavement preservation study. That's the study that AMT does that shows you the densities, the ratings.
I think you unmuted.
You got a parrot? You got a parrot here?
That's the study that they do where it basically says, all right, we're going to put 200,000 in for fog seal at Canterfield this year. We're going to put 50,000 in for Greenway fog seal. And I'm just using those numbers, for example, for those of y'all listening at home. That's where those numbers are derived from. So anything you see in that preventative maintenance is anything that we anticipated on an annual basis in terms of emergency repairs or any type of preventative maintenance that's identified that we need to do. Those numbers will likely change due to the fact that our pavement condition survey is 5 to 6 years old right now, and we're in the process of redoing that survey. Inflation has gone up, so these numbers will likely increase.
So just looking at that lower in expenses, preventive maintenance, looking out 26, 27, it's 209, it just goes way up. But that would be, is there any reason, or are you just following the schedule of their maintenance?
Following the schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to pull that year to tell you what's in there, but more than likely, it's a lot of neighborhood fog seal is what it is.
Okay.
Emergency repairs, you see that in there. And these are areas that, we've had discussions about stormwater drains and crates and all that stuff, or grates collapsing, and we've had to go out and do emergency repairs. That's where some of that funding will come from. And if there's any big potholes, any of that comes out of that emergency repairs. We don't really have a good solid number for what that's going to cost annually because we're fairly new into the roads business, and the roads that we have are fairly new. So we haven't seen a lot of issues yet. So I've increased that number slowly as time goes on. I can't tell you I'm fully confident in these numbers, but I feel like that they are good estimates. You see the NCDOT roundabout share and commitments. The 120 was for the
First,
roundabout, the
yeah,
first
the first.
match that we put over here. For the proposed roundabout, we have a total of 96,000 that remains.
And
And then
the 200,000 is just the estimated overages once the project's completed. So that's just kind of what's estimated for the.
And that could be more, it could be less. It's probably going to be more based on the fact that the project itself has gone up over $1 million in the past.
The 200,000 is the 50% we're on the. hook
Yes.
for?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's the estimate. I mean, we're on the
Right.
hook for 50%.
50%, which right now we're guessing
200.
200.
Jamie and Hunter, do you remember what that 11,000 was for in 24, 25? Oh, I know what that's for. That's for, if y'all recall, probably 5 years ago, we entered some gentleman's agreement with DOT where they basically said, we'll repave this road, and this road if y'all put some kind of share in. That 11,000 and that 7,000 is the gentleman's handshake agreement that we have with DOT on those residential roads. That could stay, it could go away.
That's the 11.6 and the 7.6?
Correct, yes. So the 200 is for the potential overruns. You see the Marvin Loop, that's the STIP project, or what we refer to as the CRTPO project. That's that $1.7 million grant that we received that Hunter's talking about that he's gonna be working on. When we initially had this conversation about this grant, we were going to take some money out of the Marvin Loop capital fund balance, the fund balance reserve for Loop, which he'll refer to in just a second, as a $138,000 appropriation. So when he says 138, that's what he's referring to, is when we initially started talking about this grant, we were gonna take that money out of fund balance reserve for the Loop to fund the first year of that project. So what the numbers that you see reflective here do not, on your sheet that you're looking at, do not reflect that additional appropriation. When Hunter starts speaking of that, he's gonna put that number back in so you can see how that changes the projections out over the next couple of years. So that $98,000 is what we would have to pay this year, and that's to fund the planning and engineering portion of that project. Next year, we would look at another 63,000, and then the following year is that 500 chunk where it's basically the construction cost. That's where we really get hit, where we go into the negative of $339,000. That's where the problems start happening. So from here, staff has sat down and identified a lot of different areas where we could potentially look at things, meaning to stretch out that vehicle tax to increase the funding if y'all wanted to fund additional projects, or to put in that $138,000 as we initially talked about. We also earmarked $111,000 in the ARPA funds for the roundabout match. Hunter actually remembered that. So we're going to put that back in this model so you can see how that changes things. So what, again, to summarize, what you're not seeing in your agenda packets is the $138,000 fund balance appropriation from the Loop project. You're not seeing the $111,000 ARPA appropriation, and you're not seeing any changes in the vehicle tax if we decide to move that out additional years. So I'm going to turn it back over to them unless y'all have any further questions about what you're seeing here.
And
So-
then, just real quick, AMTs, when they go in and do the reviews and stuff, is that anywhere in here?
It is. That's what's in the preventative maintenance
Preventive,
schedule.
that's considered preventive, okay.
And that's what we have currently today. Those numbers could change in the next couple of months. If anything, they're going to go up slightly.
Okay.
So what we've done is basically the Excel here is kind of updated based off of one, getting into our next item, which we'll discuss, is obviously showing the committed funds if we do the roundabout, the application for the roundabout at Waxhaw Marvin and Bonds Grove. Basically, the way that I set that up is, if you want to go down the revenues, it's what's in orange, expenses. Basically, and we'll kind of get into it in the next one, but I went ahead and did the total 20% match because we would be, instead of splitting it 10 and 10 equally with the county, which it still is roughly that, we would receive $500,000 if the county approves it for their critical intersection grant for that funding for that project. So that's where you're seeing it, those three. We also went ahead and included the $138,000 and the $111,000 that Christine has mentioned, and an additional 150,000, that's contingent, funding that we are looking to receive.
So if you recall, a couple months ago, we did get an additional appropriation from the legislator for some discretionary funding, primarily for the Village Hall Pocket Park. There's another 150 in that we're trying to put into the sidewalk project. So if I can work that out, that'll be another 150 that we can put back into this project. I can't say for sure as of today, but that's what the intent would be.
So with those, and like, and that, and you see that 500,000 from Union County right there, is that if we do move forward with the roundabout at Waxhaw Marvin and Bonds Grove, that you would start seeing kind of the deficit further out. Additionally, the deficit has where we have committed for the Providence widening in fiscal year 27, 28, and 28, 29. Those might be even further out, so it might not be such a budget hit as you see in 27, 28 in this Excel. The other thing that we wanted to show is that this is basically with just the committed 104, our estimated revenue for the next 2 years off the vehicle tax of 142,000, 42,000. If you want to add, if we wanted to just, expand that out a couple of years, I think if we went out 2 or 3 years, it's a pain. You can hide those. We had this all set up so perfectly, so, yeah.
Is there any way you could just show them? So you plugged in the revenue numbers that we mentioned, right? The one.
Outside of the, we plugged in all the revenue numbers outside of expanding the vehicle tax over the next 2 or 3
Okay.
years.
Can you just show them the deficit numbers, like where they start?
Yeah, that's what,
It's really hard to see from back this far, and I think people at home may be interested in knowing those numbers as well.
it should be.
It should be connected. If it's not working, it might be it's died on us.
What's the 27, 28? Is that negative 500?
Yeah, that's where the deficit shows. That's with all the committed revenues outside of the additional vehicle tax at the current moment.
So basically what that shows you guys is we plugged in as much money as we know we could easily find to help fund additional projects. Unless we truthfully want to start talking about extending that vehicle tax or going up on taxes, unfortunately, we're going to be in a negative 500,000 if we fund that project. So, these are good decisions that will have to be made in order to figure out how we're going to fund additional projects on Powell bill dollars.
How does it look if you extend that in 2 years?
The vehicle tax, yeah, we're doing it right now.
For $500,000.
I know, it gives you an idea.
But even
Even
going up a cent, what does that equate to?
Less than the.
1 cent is about 140 right now.
140 grand?
So it'd be roughly the
So
same.
you would need essentially almost a 5-cent tax raise. I'm just doing quick math.
Probably closer to 3.
Okay. Because of
You're in
the other.
Yeah, so if you expand it out 3 additional years, yeah, basically the 4 additional years on the vehicle tax would get all the, based off of committed projects, the Marvin, or Waxhaw Marvin, Bonds Grove roundabout, and all the additional fund, revenues being received. This is, expanding that vehicle tax would get us basically back to even where we wouldn't be in the negative.
So Jamie, is this not, or is it not working?
She's zooming in for you.
No, no.
Moving it forward.
No, I'm saying, is it not working in terms of changing the numbers?
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Right here, so this is here, these are revenues, so we're not seeing a deficit until fiscal year 28, which is $465. And all we've done here is expand the vehicle tax out 4 more years. So this is what we currently have agreed to with the sunset, and then this is just us continuing this on. So let's say we only do it 3 years and we take this away. You can see we're at $142,900 deficit in fiscal year 28. So this would be doing the roundabout, the already agreed upon STIP match, and then this is the Providence widening, which we actually think that this may push even further over. So I could also show you if we.
Why are those numbers in brown different than the numbers that I have?
So
Well, because they all changed.
Yeah, we're doing like a real time showing additional revenues.
But isn't the stuff in the brown what we're committing? Are you talking about this red? No.
No, the orange, the highlighted orange.
Right there. We call it orange.
No, that's what we would be committing.
Well, why are those numbers different than?
Because what I did, instead of doing a complete 10% and 10% match for the estimated funds for that project, I did the total 20% as if we were the applicant for the 20% match of the project, and then have a revenue of 500,000 coming in from the county.
Okay, I literally cannot have, I don't want to have that in this thing until we actually get to the roundabout and have that actual discussion about what the numbers look like, what the match looks like, yada, 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 because I can't have a conversation about this when I don't know the details about the brown numbers.
So hang on real quick. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Do you have a $500 appropriation
Mhm.
at the top? So basically what he's saying is that he's put it in there as what our maximum contribution would be if you guys decide to go forward
Wait,
with.
is that really our maximum contribution?
It's not the
Correct.
overruns. It's just
Correct.
the max.
It's not. So I cannot look at this. I can't figure out like what those brown numbers are gonna be until we have a conversation about truly what that project could cost us.
And we can talk more about that on the next agenda item, but what I discussed with Bjorn is that basically since those numbers are 2020 and the contingencies that we would budget in, we would submit the application with those estimated numbers because they're recent enough.
I need to be on that agenda item to talk about.
That's
that,
fine.
because I can't do it here.
The biggest thing was trying to show you, one, the funding allocation.
Giant deficit if we don't do something.
Well, we can take, if you want to take away that project.
Brown numbers out and let me see what it looks like.
So, but I think
and
what I take from this is the fact that as we think long-term on this, and we're talking about infrastructure here in Marvin with that, and I think that we talked about this, we discussed this before, is once we put that roundabout in, and we're trying to do the roundabout without increasing taxes with the vehicle tax. Once we get to 28, we're not putting any more roundabouts in.
The only other two.
Would be Marvin and Joe Park.
Correct. That's the only other one that I think was.
We don't know that we need, which will probably be Jeff Parr and Marvin School Road. I just
So
need
can you take those brown numbers out so she can
Yeah.
see what it,
Take that
to
out.
take those out and just let me look at it.
And you'll
because
need to take.
I can't have this, I can't.
Yep.
Up top, yeah.
what you could do when we get to this item, Hunter, is you could add in an estimated overage. Put those numbers back in and then estimated overage and let her see that.
I would take the, yeah.
No, just leave it there. And what are we at now? Okay, so.
We would be in the positive.
Until,
We would never be.
why is it red?
It's because it doesn't automatically update for some reason.
Of the color?
Yeah. But if it's not in parentheses, then it's not in the negative.
Okay, so go back and take out what'd you do? Would you add 4 years? Fee, it's a fee. 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, take the 3 years out. Leave it at the original sunset that we had. I mean, I said.
Yeah.
That 150, is that legislator appropriation?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, now, show me.
You want to take that out?
So leave him, yeah, leave that.
Is that, you're going to leave that?
Do y'all want to leave that in for now?
Yeah, leave that, that's
Okay.
good, that's from the, state, right?
Yes.
Yeah, leave that in there, just for now. Okay, JB, we go down the bottom again. So how far out are we, 29, 30? What are we at 30? We're still positive, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard, to me, it just looks at our determination on where do we squeeze the balloon? Do you stay with the vehicle tax? Or do you increase tax? Because you're gonna be in a deficit. But at some point in time, you can address the sunset on the vehicle tax without having to increase taxes.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, just is what it is.
Another option, if you wanted to consider, is a one-time fund balance appropriation, but that's up to you guys to
I
decide
don't
that.
have no money to do anything else.
Yeah, that's not wise.
That's like our savings account that.
That's right, yeah.
And once again, the biggest reason we wanted to show you this is so you guys just know where we're at. And if we do want to move forward with submitting an application for the next agenda item, then potentially what would need to be done to commit funding.
Keep this handy, but I just can't have that conversation without knowing like. all-
That's fine.
To then plug other numbers in there.
Is there any other questions? Just
It's a great exercise to go through, and we really need to see that.
And we need to do it often.
And we need to do it often because, again, as we plan out, listen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news to anyone, but we're squeezing the balloon somewhere, some way. And click on the pig and say, hey, we haven't increased taxes.
Well, while we're in a break from other items, can you just increase the preventative maintenance by 20%? Just so we can be realistic, and when we get back to that item, we'll have some,
The preventative
Yeah.
maintenance?
yeah. I know it's gonna go up, I just don't know how much, I just wanna, so you can do that as, we're gonna move on to other agenda items, because y'all wanna revisit this in the roundabout item. Is there any other questions y'all have about this in particular, aside from, okay?
No, but I do think that we should look at this in a couple of months. Because good information for us just to have, like, if, you know, if.
It's,
Yes. Additional funding can come from also our ability to annexation.
Yeah. It's not gonna be like significant amount.
thank you.
All right. We want to move on to the discussion of CRTPO funding, application for Bonds Grove Church Road at Waxaw Marvin Road roundabout.
So as we discussed at the work session and kind of have mentioned, Bjorn's reached out to us to see if we were interested in submitting a CRTPO application for funding for this project. He is online, so I'm going to go over a few things and maybe let him kind of add in, because I know one of the things that you guys requested last meeting was seeing the funding, kind of also seeing some updated numbers. So we have gotten some updated traffic count numbers on that compared to what was done for the critical intersection grant study. And as I mentioned, if we did submit this, it would not be a completely 10% split. It would be roughly, like I said, we would probably take it on. They would give us 500,000. Bjorn estimated that would be like a total of 592,000 committed from us, as well as, and then 500,000 from them for the project. With all that being said,
How much was it?
it'd be 592,000. That's what's,
92,000.
yeah, kind of broken up over those 3 fiscal years.
The county says.
500. Because it wouldn't be, because they have a fund for their critical intersection program that is at 500,000 right now. So basically, this is an opportunity for the county to, for us to partner with them, receive funding for this project. But the fund's at 500,000, and so they wouldn't be, unless, I mean, I talked to Bjorn about this, and I'll let, if he wants to speak a little bit more about it, but basically we would have to request for the county to match it. But I think with the 500,000, I mean, that's what, I think Bjorn and them asked for $1 million for the whole fund, and they only got 500,000.
So we think that the county's gonna give us the full 500,000?
That's kind of what this discussion is that we would need to commit, if we are willing to commit funds to this project, Bjorn can go to the county commissioners for the application and for them to commit that 500,000 to this.
Commit 590,000, they commit 500,000. Why are we committing 590,000?
Because that's where that total project cost of of the estimated from the study was, the 20% match was 1.09 or 1.09 million.
Okay, so let's say that the county comes back and says, no, we won't give you 100,000.
And that's up to you guys to then decide if we want to still submit an application.
But who's gonna pay for the rest of it?
What do you mean?
Well, it's $500 million.
So the process is the funding through CRTPO. The application that we'd be submitting is they require a minimum of a 20% local match. So it would be the project, even though I estimated at 5.46 million, we would only be on the hook for quote unquote 20%. But that 20% encompasses the 500,000 that we've received from the county.
So it's still CRTPO who's got to make the decision if they want to fund it or not.
Correct. We would still, so it's submitting an application. So the first step is us, if we're willing to proceed, we can let the county know so Bjorn can move forward with getting the county commissioner's blessing on committing those funds. Then I would work with Bjorn to get a application together to submit to CRTPO by, I think it's November. Or we really need to have this information in the next month to get to the pre-application meeting with them, with CRTPO in early October. And then their process, I think we would know either between December and March if that project's been awarded. Kind of similar with the Marvin Loop, how it was done.
So does CRTPO have like an overrun contingency in there the same way DOT does?
Do you want to speak on that?
Jamie, yeah.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to speak. Greetings from Winston-Salem. I'm at the State Planning Conference. And yes, Hunter did a very good job of explaining that. The CARPO process includes 2 calls for projects per year. The spring call is for overruns only. They are very committed to making sure projects get across the finish line. So I've been a part of the selection committee that reviews these for the last 5+ years. And I don't think we've ever not funded an overrun project for funding requests. And in the fall, which is what we're doing now, it's both new projects and overruns. And they have a little more than $50 million available this fall.
Sorry, I don't think I asked the question the right way. If we commit 10%, Union County commits 10%, and then CRTPO says, great, we'll pick up the rest. Did they pick up the rest? Like,
That's correct.
Not like what DOT does, where DOT is like, hey, you guys are on the hook for 50% of our bad planning.
No, that still is a risk. These are projects that are at the application is submitted by Marvin or by Union County or by the NCDOT. And if there are overruns, whatever the local agreement is going to be our responsibility collectively to come up with it. And there have been different arrangements. Union County's had 2 of these in the past. One, the Parkwood roundabout that's currently under construction near Parkwood High School. We had to submit some funding as a part of a shortfall request. And we also did that with Waxhaw a couple of years ago for the funded roundabout at Old Providence and 75. So I'm not going to say that in 4 years we may not have to come back for some additional funds. It's not fun, but it's a reality.
Yeah, so to kind of clarify, is they have a funding process I think it's twice a year, that any of these projects that are approved, once we get throughout, the process, that if there's a shortfall in funding, as in, costs go up and stuff, that we can request additional funding from CRTPO for those shortfalls.
But we could not get that and be on the hook for it.
Yes, it's all a possibility. I have not, like I said, I have not been here long enough to know, as in CRTPO funding and their process. So I don't know, to give you guys confident saying that they would fund it or if they wouldn't.
But because we're teaming with CRTPO, they have a louder voice than we do. And
Correct. It's a better avenue than basically us just doing.
because we're not going in it alone. This is not Marvin's roundabout. This is a shared roundabout. I'm going to assume that they have a louder voice than what we would. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't say that, but it certainly helps.
Correct.
So Bjorn, are we going on the numbers that were presented to us last week or whatever that meeting was, the last meeting? So we're at 5.46.
That is correct. And to clarify on the question, that was just the statement that was made earlier about us having more weight because of CARTPO. Technically, Mayor Polino and his peers are CARTPO. They're the ones who vote for these things. CARTPO is just the forum.
We don't have necessarily. So I was gonna say, we had a meeting Friday, with Waxaw. And because a lot of this is where years ago, there was a study and it ended right at Bonds Grove. And, you know, obviously the traffic doesn't end there, but the study did. But we kind of reached out to Waxaw and he had, I think it's fair to say that they're not interested in participating at this point at all. However, they recommended, you know, other options of sources through CRTPO, which I'm not sure, and Bjorn, maybe you can help us with that, but Mayor Pappas from Waxaw suggested that, number one, we start to meet with CRTPO and the individuals from that group there, and have them, whether they come to a work session. But he also seemed to think that there were possibly some other areas to explore for sources of funding. Are you familiar with any of that?
Unless he knows something that I don't, no. I'm pretty good at knowing where the money is, and we're applying for whatever's available. And so we're going through the right process, what we're doing right now.
You had mentioned the high hazard, which is what we had discussed at the last meeting, and I had looked into that, and that's something that DOT had basically told me that this project wouldn't qualify because of the scope of the project. It's not, usually those projects are more stoplights, stop signs, something that's smaller in nature.
That is correct. One thing I would note about that program is if we get in a situation where we get it funded, there have been instances where we've been able to potentially get money through the high hazard or other safety programs through the state to make up maybe $500,000 out of it, which gives us some buffer for future shortfalls. So we certainly could continue to advocate for that through the DOT staff locally, but that is something that's going to be after we go through an application with CARTPO this fall. And one other thing, if I could, in case you saw the tube counters that were out on the road at that intersection over the last 2 weeks, those were the county counters, and we have literally fresh data from yesterday when we collected the counters, and the volumes on Bonds Grove and Waxhaw Marvin are higher than what we had previously. It was approximately 4,000 cars a day on Bonds Grove. Historically, it was around 3,000 from several years ago. And then on Waxhaw Marvin on the north side of the intersection, it was at 12,000, which is probably 25% higher than what it was about 4 years ago. So traffic's growing by about 5% a year, which is kind of in line with what I've seen in other counts that have been in the area.
On that 50% overrun, would you guys, I guess you guys would be on the hook for that as well? We would share that cost with you all?
I would assume that we would share in that equally.
So before we kind of discuss more, I just want to, reiterate is that basically the action tonight is that if we would like to proceed, I just need to kind of have your guys' blessing / Bjorn, so he can proceed with going to the county to get that funding. But if we're not interested in committing funds over, the next couple of years for this roundabout, then, there's no use on staff to continue putting together the application and going down the process.
What's the time frame for this roundabout?
For the
To-
application itself,
No. What'd you say, Bjorn? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. If Hunter's going to answer it, that's perfectly fine.
you go ahead.
Ma'am, was the question about the funding for it or the implementation of it?
Time frame of when?
Implementation of it.
I would assume design of it wouldn't occur for 3 years, right of way a year after that, and then construction a year after that. So 25, 26, 27 at the earliest. And that's optimistic. Realistically, it could be a year to the right, but something that I mentioned at the previous meeting was if we did catch the proverbial car, dogs chasing after cars metaphor, I would push to have the DOT cash flow this project to start work on it as soon as possible, with the goal of having it in place by the time all the interruptions from the widening of Providence Road starts happening, and Waxhaw Marvin can be a safer reliever corridor for all that traffic. So, and I think that would actually be favorably received by the DOT.
Bjorn, I have a question for you. What do you think the percentage of increase in traffic on Waxhaw Marvin corridor will be during that construction of Providence Road?
I don't know. I can't even say. I will say I drive 75 to work, and the detour from the Parkwood School roundabout that's under construction right now is pretty painful. So let me just put it this way: with the growth in traffic we have right now, the buffer we've had over the years is really being eliminated. Now we're getting to the point where small increases in traffic are going to have highly disproportionate increases in congestion and safety.
Yeah.
Do you all want to revisit the tracker sheet now that we're talking about this and we've?
Yeah, but I would I know it says 5.4, what does it say? 4.6. So, that's in today's dollars, I'm assuming, right now. In reality, this is probably gonna go up, I don't know, 10%, 20% by the time they're actually asking for money. So we're already on the hook. Would that be considered an overrun, Bjorn?
It would. There's a lot of uncertainties in the world right now, and I share your concern over costs, but you have to start somewhere. That's what we're working off of.
Well, the only thing, if there is a light at the end of the tunnel here, is that we're discussing is the bond issue. It comes into play, and we incorporate that if we move forward. But we haven't decided it yet. If we move forward on the bond, that becomes part of the whole umbrella package. It's not only the finishing of the 16 miles of roads, whatever it is in Marvin, but also those potential. And to your point, I think you said last time, then we're done, but we're never done.
If we don't know, okay, traffic's moving, so this is going.
Oh, the schedule.
Listen.
Hey guys, it's really hard to hear you. You got to get closer to your mics.
Government does a phenomenal job of kicking the can down the road. This isn't going away, and it's just going to, again, it's just going to cause more headache.
The reason for us getting the bond is one reason, not only to two reasons, not only to do it all and have the funding for it, but to do it in today's dollars. And I think that conversation we had a week ago with DOT, they may commit, go out 4 or 5 years. They're not looking for where we proposed, hey, all we want is that your portion of the payment to pay back the bond. We want to do it in today's dollars. You are making excuses in fairness, whether it's a pandemic, a hurricane, or their lack of funding. They're telling us that's why that third roundabout hasn't been completed yet. So the whole reason behind this bond is twofold. One, to get everything done at once, and to do it today's dollars. No excuses. Money's there. It's just a matter of doing things. Did that? Are they gonna step up and say, yeah, we'll have the crews out there to?
Yeah, but that's a whole nother conversation. But this project, even if we do the bond and we're able to fund this, we have to pay it back, but two, it's not gonna be in today's dollars because they're not gonna build it in today's dollars and they're not gonna ask for it in today's dollars. They're gonna ask for it whenever they're ready to build it, which could be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now.
Even if they started tomorrow, it's 2 years out because you have to do land acquisition and construction.
I understand, but I think Bjorn's looking for a commitment from us to take back to take back to CRTPO and to the state and go, there's a commitment here.
Yeah.
Because if we say no, there's no commitment, then
you're moving down. I don't know where you went, Bjorn, but
Jamie got rid of it.
Jamie just left you. Jamie, but you're probably going to Stallings, right? To see if they're interested.
We do not have another candidate project for this cycle. This is the only one we're actively working on with a municipality partner.
So right now, it's us and one other, and then the county and CRTPO.
I mean, listen, I mean, I hate the fact that other municipalities won't participate, but unfortunately they won't. And I don't think we have much of a choice but to.
You gotta remember, we're serving the majority of the other municipalities.
Yeah, but we did that.
Still serving
We've
Marvin.
done this at these three.
Yeah.
I mean, those are, and unincorporated. Now granted, Union County's, gonna pony up for this one, but, it's frustrating, but I mean, yes, Hunter, I'm good with moving forward on it. But just, people have got to know that this is gonna cost money and we're gonna have to get it from somewhere.
Well, and that's what I was gonna have is, Bjorn, correct me if I'm wrong here, or you can add in, is that, this is to submit the application. One, it has to be approved by the CRTPO and all that. Well, yeah, one county for the initial 500,000, and then next we'd submit the application. If we get awarded it, we can continue to move forward. But if there's, those shortfalls happen, we can always either apply for those shortfalls or, ask just to put the project on hold or just decommit to it. I don't know if there's a penalty for that, but I know that there's all the time that these projects get awarded by other municipalities. Sometimes they run into a funding issue as well, and they have to step away from it.
Hey, Bjorn, are you still there?
I am.
Are you able to provide any kind of insight into the Parkwood roundabout and how it mirrors this in any way? If it doesn't, that's okay, but how did they address theirs?
What do you mean by how did they address theirs?
Well, who funded the roundabout at Parkwood?
It was funded through a couple different funding sources. The state or the DOT got some safety funds for it first when it was a more limited project. Then they said, we want to make it bigger. We're going to need to go to CARTPO. Union County, will you come up with some funds? And we said, sure. And we came up with $200,000, and we committed to that money 4 years ago. And we only cut the check last year. So it was 3 years after we committed to it that the money actually went out the door, and now it's under construction. And it'll be complete. It was intended to be complete before school started, but I think a culvert pipe was delayed, like everything's delayed these days. So now it's still getting finished up, and that's the experience we had.
Question. You said 2 years ago, how much money was you committed to, or?
Union County committed $200,000 to that project.
And you only wrote the check for 200,000, so there was no increase.
Money, no, there was an increase because they went through a revision to the scope. So it was made bigger, wasn't necessarily just a cost increase.
And just to be clear for the public, bonds don't necessarily they go to a vote. It's gonna cost quite a bit of money. I think we were trying to figure that out, or Christina, you were gonna get us some numbers of all the costs that are associated with going towards a bond. Then it's gotta get approved to make it happen too. So it's not just like we say we're gonna get a bond. It still has to go to the community and say we're gonna pay it. And yes, we're gonna vote that in and stuff. So that, and yeah, we have to pay it back. What I'm saying is, my whole point is, it just because we're saying we're considering a bond, we may go through that process, spend $100,000 in all the things that we need to do to get that bond out there. And then it goes to the vote, to the community, and they turn it down.
That's accurate, yes.
So I would say just start moving forward with the process of getting the application together. I mean, that's.
So we're gonna need a motion through that.
I think Bjorn's.
Yes, Bjorn.
Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a little bit of guidance in terms of the time frame for the county. If you took action tonight, committing it, what I would do is then this week put the agenda item together to put it on the October 3rd county commission agenda and ask them to take action. So we would know an answer in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I can get with, I mean, I can, if you guys want to move forward, then I can get with Bjorn and I would work with him to probably get with stuff for the county, but as well as start working on the application for CRTPO as well.
All right, so. You want a motion?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're gonna have some work on this, and I think the county
Okay,
would like.
all right. So I'll make a motion to have staff move forward in a funding application to the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization in a $5.5 million project to fund a roundabout at the intersection of Waxhaw Marvin Road and Bonds Grove Church Road. That if the local match of the project would be 20%, to be split 10% between Marvin and 10% with Union County. Good.
Does that work? Further discussion? Give me a chance.
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, and I guess we got some work to do, right, Bjorn?
Yes, and thank you for the cooperation. We look to partner as much as possible. So thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming to us with this too, so thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Are we okay to move forward then? Next item on unfinished business, discuss and consider entering a contract with Creative Home Media for acoustic panel installation not to exceed 10,000. Oh wait, that has an extra couple zeros on it. So 10,000, correct? Okay.
It is.
And authorize manager to execute contract?
So, basically, as you have heard in this room that we're sitting in, we need some acoustic panels to absorb the noise. The first initial quote that we had got back was around $60,000. That was for a fabricated framed acoustic panel, several of them. There were, I think, 30 of them, if I'm not mistaken. There were larger panels. I subsequently got another quote from another vendor. It came in at substantially a lot cheaper, $8,400. These are not framed. They're a little bit smaller. They're also smaller in the thickness. The details of the estimate are in your agenda packets. So just asking for us to move forward with the purchase of these.
If we get them, can we get them framed? Because I think they're gonna look stupid unframed.
Actually, I've seen them unframed. They look pretty cool too, if they wrap them. They're not framed, but they're wrapped. and it's a fairly clean look. Just saying, opinion on one. You can always frame them later. Take them off the wall.
Joe's decorative opinion, I'm just saying.
I don't know what wrap
Check out mine.
means.
Like around the corner, wrap
Oh.
all around.
Yeah, like a canvas wrap type.
You won't see like the trim, like it'll.
I'll ask them that. But we could potentially frame them up later. It would be a task for
Andy
Derek.
knows how to do it.
I don't know a thing about
He's,
that.
he's a woodworker. I've seen it. I've seen his operation.
I have to agree with Joe. I think that the look is clean without framing if it's done correctly and wrapped around the edge. But again, if we don't like them, we want to add frames, we can always do that down the road. That's a rainy day project.
And they should be able to provide a sample if you want to bring it to the work session and just say, okay, here's the wraparound for this and what it's going to look like.
Okay, are you guys okay? I left a little bit of wiggle room in there.
I'll make a motion to approve. Contract with Creative Home Media not to exceed $2,000 and authorize. execution contract.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have discuss and consider awarding contract for park master plan to vendor. Right now? Okay, so before we go into this, we're gonna take a quick 5-minute bio break.
It's gonna be a long one, I know.
So need a motion to take a quick 5-minute break. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Did you see it? I know, you're so excited. I totally messed up your jam, man. Sorry, Garrett. I know.
Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
Spreadsheet. Stressful for you? No. I can see that. And she's like, let's just have 20% of something I can't even see. Oh, and then I looked over and my whole face was on there. Like, they had played back on YouTube, like my whole side face, chin. Like, take it out of your ass later. Huh? Texas?
Well.
Did you like that? You didn't like that? I mean, come on now. I gotta keep it interesting.
Oh, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
So I hope the pizza to be. I don't know if it's like they had a bunch of bad pizza. That pizza was that thick on a thick crispy. It had more stuff on it ever. Okay, I mean, I'm not gonna complain. You should get a pizza that looks like, you know how you have to see the commercial, they have nice and steamy.
Wait,
I ordered Pizza Hut. And I went to pick it up, and I opened up the box. I mean, this pizza had, that's the biggest pizza I've ever seen with like meat stuff on it. It was just like they said, "Oh, hell with it." I mean, it was like this thick or thin and crispy.
What, where's,
Pizza Hut, even Pizza Hut, they, you know.
I haven't been there forever.
So,
Is that how it started?
yeah.
Pizza, pizza. Sorry.
She made it work out.
I told him, you don't really need work on this.
True. All right. Right, Austin? Andy, can you hear me?
I can now,
Are you ready?
and whenever,
Andy, can you hear me?
whenever the mayor's ready, we'll start.
Well, we've decided that the mayor's worthless. He doesn't get a vote. So if everybody is ready, let's go.
So if the mayor pro tem is ready, then we're all ready.
That's the opinion of one, maybe more. All right. So I'll need a motion to move back into, oh, all right, I'd like to reconvene our meeting from our break here and moving on to discuss and consider awarding contract for park master plan to vendor to be determined and authorize manager to execute
The contract.
There's a lot there.
execute the contract. Okay. So who's got this?
I'll start it. So inside of your agenda packet is a very long memo that kind of highlights where we've been and where we're at now. Basically, in a nutshell, last year we had looked at entertaining a Part F grant, and we were told that we had to put a site-specific map in there with a lot of detailed plans, basically a master plan in and of itself for a particular park. We were looking at Marvin Eford Park. At the time, we did not have such plan that existed. So here we are today with such RFP to enter that agreement to get that ball rolling. Since the time of this discussion to where we are now, council has asked us to add a couple of different things into the scope. Basically, a lot of the additional park space that we've either obtained or we're going to obtain at the time we RFP'd. We did include the Village Hall Pocket Park that we've got funding for over here. We also included the Marvin Gardens Pocket Park. At the time of the RFP, we did not have the Heritage development approved, so we included that into the scope as a potential project to be added later on down the line. So the scope has expanded since the initial discussions. which is why it's taken us a little while to get to this point. Basically, what you have in front of you is 4 proposals for the master plan for Parks property in Marvin. We did budget $50,000 for this item. According to statutes, we are prohibited from looking at the total cost of the project and making a determination of who's the most qualified vendor. So in terms of looking at those qualifications based off of what staff looked at, there is a recommendation in your agenda packet to enter an agreement potentially with McAdams. That's to allow staff to begin negotiations with that group as the first qualified vendor to hopefully get an agreement set for under $50,000. I say all that to say, we've also looked at potentially submitting an application in 24. The applications for the submittal for this year were due in May. At the time of the RFP, we did not know the timelines for the Part F applications that will be due in the next year, and we still don't know that. They're still not released. So we would only assume that they would model what happened this year, which would be May. So one of the things that we had asked this group after the RFP was released was if they did grant writing, all of them said yes, and if they would be willing to expedite the process so that we could make an application for the next year so we could be ahead of the game. They all said yes. They all gave us an estimated hours of completion for the grant writing. In the initial scope of us crunching some numbers, we had estimated around $60,000. However, we were crunching numbers earlier and those numbers are incorrect. So we revised the motion in your agenda packets to include the correct amounts. Pending no further questions, staff is recommending that we begin negotiations with McAdams as the most qualified vendor to execute an agreement within $50,000 for that scope.
If we add to the scope of it, like, let's just say that the Pulte Park comes into fruition and we want to add that into the whole master plan, can we add to the scope of it and just?
Yeah, and that can be through, I mean, even if you award it through an amendment to the contract, and as long as it's related to the initial bid and it didn't, as you negotiate to a final agreement, you can add things as long as it's somewhat related and doesn't materially change the initial.
Okay.
So you could definitely do that, and you could do that in 6 months because you would already have an entity that you have under contract and that is familiar, and you're probably going to want a uniform design.
Right.
So you could add that to the scope, to an amendment to the contract.
And then we could, I mean, then we would just pay the hourly rate.
Yes, and we can even put something in the contract if you think that's a reasonable probability of how we would do that.
Okay.
But all the contracts that we have language about amendment to the mutual agreement of the parties signed by both parties, and that's a typical contract clause.
Okay.
Christina, did I hear you say that you got, this is just kind of a side question, that you got projections of estimated hours from each one of the
Yes, I
vendors?
do. And I actually have that information. You guys would like to see it?
What, I mean, was there a huge variance?
You better sit down.
Are they about the same?
No.
Um,
It don't have pricing on here.
Oh, you don't?
Not, this don't have pricing. Yeah.
This is just a personal question.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
40, so
need
one,
to get into
no,
the
one
details.
vendor was 40 to 45 hours, one vendor was 40 to 60, and then another one was 75. And they all kind of gave you variations, plus or minus 10%. So they're all in the same, the less than 100 hours.
Sorry, I didn't realize pricing wasn't included.
Yeah, no.
Because this is different, this is the request really for qualifications, and it's different than a lot of the things you've done, for construction, and if you're buying widgets, then you go for the lowest cost. Here, you look for the most qualified, and then you negotiate the cost.
Everything Christina just said. I was very pleased with the 4 proposals that we got. They were all from companies that have great reputations within the North Carolina Parks and Rec Association, vendors that I've interacted with. McAdams has been one that has been to the park before and has kind of helped guide my vision for this project. And they've been one that has, seen our facilities, kind of knows what we want to do, has given us some examples. They included in their proposal of similar type of projects, specifically the Jamestown project. And so that's why I think we're suggesting going with them. Just, we've got that familiarity, the relationship. And, they've done a lot of, they're a local business. They've done a number of projects in the area, similar size and scope. But again, this thing started with 3-4 years ago with me just wanting to know the potential of Marvin Eathard Park. And it's just amazing, I think, with our growth, where we've come. And now we're looking at, master planning multiple sites and chasing, part of money of this size. So I'm just excited, no matter what.
One other question that I have too is that when we were looking at the difference of the proposals, some of them submitted information in there about statistically significant surveys that they would do those. A lot of things that we've been doing in the past with the land use plan, the small heritage or small area plan, we've used that former study that we did back in 2019. Not sure if you guys want to do another statistically significant survey for this. We estimated it was going to be around $16,000 for that portion of it. So if you are interested in that, we would also need to add that into the potential scope.
If we do that, that's gonna push us out and we're not gonna be able to do this for next April,
It
May.
would take some time to do that to make it significant, yes.
Yeah, I don't really wanna delay that, and I'm not sure that people's opinions on open space and park area is gonna change much.
We could try to do as much internally as we can to have public input, but the survey is what would take some time if that was something you guys wanted to do.
And this is not to pick the vendor, but this is just in the process as a whole. If they start coming back to us with suggestions and we're just like, that is just not like they're going like way left field. I don't know what that would be, but let's just say that. And we're like, no, we don't like that. Can we just, or is it just basically like, okay, here you go?
No, I imagine it being a partnership.
Collaborative?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
working together throughout the whole process.
You mean in terms of what they present, like if they present a basketball court and you don't think the community wants that? Yeah, so you guys would have input. They would present a recommendation to you all, and it's all gonna be gathered from input from PRG as well. So there's gonna be that same process, is that they would go through them, garner the input, then it would come to you for final.
Again, I mean, I obviously always want input from the community. I just don't want to push this off another year. Can we do some like public input meetings and have people come in and like?
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. That's part of most of their scopes. We could just let them know we still want the public input. We just don't want to spend a whole
Like a
lot of time and
formal
money and effort
survey.
on this, the survey itself.
Yeah.
Because it involves them creating the survey, having the postage, having it sent out, the analysis work done and all that stuff. So we could still gather
Okay.
public input in
Okay.
other
I mean,
ways.
I definitely want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, one of their, they've got a 3-phased approach. The first one, listen and research. They list survey as one of the options, but public engagement, open houses, meetings with stakeholders, meetings with elected officials, trust fund meetings, conservation fund meetings. So there's, just on, I would say, on a bigger scale.
We had initially told them to be complete by June, but when we started looking at timelines of the Part F application, they really need to be done by March, April, and that's like drop dead dates. So it should be done by February, March. Yes. so that we could submit the application in May. That's correct.
We have no audio. I can't hear Joe at all.
Sorry.
Oh, there you are.
So to answer your question on that, we only budgeted $50,000, so we're trying to keep it within what we budgeted.
Right.
Derek and I are also privy to what we know the costs are gonna be too, so we are trying to keep it in line with what we expect to be realistic and also what we've budgeted.
Okay. So you think it's gonna come in there right in it, or at about 50?
I'm hoping that we can negotiate to that point, so.
Okay. And again, it's nothing personal. It's just that in the past, as long as I've been here, usually putting this task on a administrator or town manager and stuff, the leeway wasn't that much as far as funding. It's usually been a lot less.
I'll say plans are expensive, and I would not be surprised if they argued more than $50,000. So our goal is to try to get under the $50,000 and keep it at that, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's not a realistic goal. So that's why we worded it that way, is that we want to make it fair and reasonable, not only because of what we budgeted, but what the going rate for plans and studies are nowadays. I don't know exactly how much we paid for the last two plans, but it was close to $40,000
I mean,
for,
the Greenway Master Plan was like 40.
yeah. And this is much more in depth, so.
Okay. So you're projecting by February, March, we'll have a plan in our hand?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I heard. Any other questions? Man. So then once they come back with a plan, what kind of money do we have to implement the plan? I'm looking at you, finance. You just said we had $190,000 about an hour ago or so.
That's for Village Hall.
Oh,
So you guys have assigned 300,000 to the playground replacement at Marvin Eford Park.
300,000?
I believe so, yeah.
Over how many years?
One time, the ARPA funds, we could potentially go.
Jamie was saying it was Powellville back then, right? No, it was 300,000, really that much? I don't remember it that being that much.
What?
What did you guys?
For a playground.
Playground.
Playground stuff?
Yeah, that's how much I think, or 350, 325 or 350.
So there's a couple ways. I think the question is, how are we going to pay for the match? So
It was more just like, how much money is there in general?
Yeah, I was just wondering what it would potentially be and where are we gonna get our funds if we're matching or doing it?
500 from the state.
yeah, if you look at your agenda packet, I did put some additional information in there about potentially where we pull some funds from. It depends on what we end up seeing in the plan. Like, for example, if the Village Hall Pocket Park comes in and y'all want to spend a lot of time, money, and effort at that location as opposed to Marvin Eford based off of what survey, public input, what the recommendations are, then basically what we would do is take the $500,000 appropriation that we've been given from the legislator and put that as our match. So we're $0 in at that point from the village standpoint. If it comes into Marvin Eford Park being one of the ones where we want to put all the money into, we've got the 300,000 that we earmarked for ARPA funding to pay for additional playground. We would use that $300,000. Then we'd have to come up with another 200,000, primarily being number one, a fund balance appropriation, or a fund balance reserve appropriation. We've got about $364,000, if I can remember correctly, in fund balance reserve for land acquisition. That exact number is in your agenda packet. 374, sorry. So we could use that for the additional match. So we can find the money in some of our existing funds, but potentially it would be, we'd want to put it over here at the Village Center Pocket Park. And then we're good.
Just be curious, with Marvin Day being moved to Eford Park, it's too bad I mean, the planning should be with that in mind. What could we do over at Eford Park if it goes well? But we don't know because
And this project more than likely would follow suit with something like Hunter's sidewalk project. Is the first year would be planning, engineering, that type of thing. And then you won't actually see activity until probably the next year. So we would find out, the submittal is due in May. We would probably find out summer/early fall if we got the award, and then we would start planning from there.
Would it be a situation where we pay upfront and then we get reimbursed for it?
It is, yes. And I will
So,
say.
so we could start the project earlier if we're paying for it
Mhm.
and we're just getting reimbursed for it.
Yeah,
It's
we could.
unlike the sidewalk project that where you'd have to wait for that, right? Because I mean, there's a lot more involved, like with getting help from DOT, et
The
cetera.
sidewalk project is the same. I think we're taking the approach because it's a cash flow issue. We would have to front the cash up front for $1 million project. For us to front that, we'd have to have a lot more fund balance to flow that level of cash. And I don't think they're ready to start paying until a couple of years. So that's why we're waiting that game. And I'm not sure if Part F has the same problems as far as like starting a project a year down the road, or if they're ready to start immediately, but that's cash flow.
But I was gonna say, most Part F grants after awarded, I'm pretty sure they're required to be like fully completed within 3 to 5 years after awarding. But it would be kind of similar, like where if you want to start, I mean, I'm not 100%, like we would obviously be awarded the money. You guys would have to accept the commitment and the grant fund. And then whenever the funds are then made available is when I guess like the full project, it wouldn't be necessarily like, you can't do work and then get the grant and get reimbursed. Like you have to do the work within the parameters of what the timeline is for the funding, for the awarded grant.
And just out of curiosity, who are we competing against? For this?
For Part F grant?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much everyone first aid. So if we didn't get it this year, we can always apply.
You can always apply. One of the things that I would recommend, and I think I've mentioned this to Derek and Christina, is that as we move forward with this, and especially with McAdams and stuff, they have certain contacts, but I would definitely reach out to our local, it's our like area Part F representative to an extent that's on the Part F board, have them review our application and give feedback and stuff. I did this previously with multiple of the municipalities in my previous job, and it definitely is a benefit because they can give you full insight on your application. So it'd be nice to have our application submitted on like what we really want to do probably around March or April, just to get that initial feedback. It's not required, but it definitely, I think, helps get that from them as well as they're aware of what's being submitted on our end.
One thing I'll mention real quick, unless things have changed drastically since I was involved with Part F probably about 5 years ago, which I highly doubt, they will only fund a certain location for, I think it's like once every 15, 20 years. So the maximum amount you can get is $1 million. For us to have, a limited number of locations, we would probably want to max out the amount at each location because we can't go back for another 10 to 20 years. So we'd want to get the most bang for our buck. And we could talk about that at a later date, but that's just food for thought as we're moving forward. Do y'all have any further questions on the selections themselves?
No.
So we had prepared the first initial qualified, which was McAdams. The second one, Benesh was our second one. So we would ask council to consider allowing us to start negotiations with McAdams to see if we could reach an agreement, and if not, we would move on to Benish.
All right, so I'm gonna take a stab at the motion. I know, well, it's not as long as that other one. All right, I'd like to make a motion to allow the manager to begin negotiations at a fair and reasonable fee and enter contract accordingly with McAdams as the most qualified vendor to conduct the 2023 Marvin Parks Master Plan at a cost not to exceed $50,000 with alternate vendor Benish if fair and reasonable pricing is not achieved, and primary
With primary.
achieved with primary. Okay. And if needed, I guess, no. Add grant writing to the scope of the work for 2023 okay. Submittal at a cost not to exceed $15,000 and authorize future budget amendment from contingency fund balance and or identified capital project ordinance.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Your motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up, we have discussion of advisory board vacancies and applications.
Okay, really fast. This is just a reminder that at the work session, you all will be filling the last planning board vacancy. We also have an application for the vacancy on the PRNG board. So this is just a reminder, between now and the meeting, please call the applicants, get a good handle on who you'd like to nominate or to appoint.
You'll be accepting applications until when?
We are still accepting applications.
Until the day that we vote.
Mhm. So yeah, you still have 2 applicants for planning board and 1 for PRG.
Yeah. Right, do your duty, call your people, all the people,
Even if you don't vote.
even if you don't vote. So.
So sore about that. All right, next up, new business. Discussion of upcoming coffee with council events, October through December. Gotta get my schedule.
All right.
Get my calendar out.
I'm good for.
I'd like to volunteer Andy for all dates by himself.
Okay,
So we're looking at October 1st, right?
October 6th.
And I'll throw my hat in the ring on that one.
So Bob and
I will be available. No,
Bob.
I want Bob.
No, I'm with me and Bob.
I haven't been hanging out with Bob in a while. Yeah, make sure you have donuts.
Bob and
He's gonna be mad if you don't.
Me.
Bob and Kim. Okay, October 25th. Jamie and
Hold on.
Everybody volunteer.
There's a meeting that morning, right? I show a meeting, a wayfinding meeting.
I'll do it with
All right,
Jamie.
Tuesday, I'll do it. You know, the reason I have to do it because I'm gonna be tight on November.
Okay.
So let me do the 25th.
Jamie and Joe.
Are you gonna send us a little
Yes.
reminders? Okay.
on to November 3rd.
Is that at 6 o'clock?
25th is at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
On to November 3rd, that's the morning, Wayne. Okay, Wayne and
On what day?
The 3rd, November 3rd.
3rd.
November 3rd, 10 o'clock.
That's voting day, right? Is it?
That's a Thursday.
Oh,
so
Thursday to 7, okay.
Voting.
I'm not looking at the schedule right.
It's the 8th, actually.
Okay.
I'll do it with Wayne.
Wayne and Kim.
I want to do the 22nd. I want to do the kids with council one.
No, don't let Andy hear the kids.
Andy and Jamie. Andy and Jamie for Kids with Council on November 22nd.
Where's, we're doing the kids with council?
Yeah. Can we all come? Yeah. Can we?
I'm great with kids.
Okay. So
Wait, how old are the kids?
they're gonna be.
Whoever shows up.
Oh, if they talk back, I don't want.
Within schools.
What?
Are we gonna promote that within schools?
I can try to get it in the newsletters that the principals send out.
If you give me a flyer, I can get into our elementary school and the middle school PTOs.
I was actually just speaking with the middle school
Yeah, we have it in with the elementary
principal
school
at the football game. So I usually run into, just, we were chatting about a bunch of the different things and I forgot to mention that.
I want,
Council members are coming.
I want to,
I do too.
What day is it?
22nd.
We'll need to issue a potential quorum notice then.
That's fine, take care of it.
It's on my list.
My extra special quote.
So that's where everyone breaks for.
They actually have an early release day that day. So we'll see who comes. Yeah, it's an early school.
Yeah, this will be a place to send your kids,
For babysitting.
you know, if you can't pick them up in time, so. Yeah, we'll do a walking tour. We'll start with that.
Okay, so everyone is in for that date. The last one is December 1st. You guys normally only do one in December, so that's in the morning. Who wants it? Wayne? And
Done 3.
What time is the coffee with kids, by the way?
6. It's a Tuesday, they're always 6.
I know, I just making sure. Hot chocolate.
Yes.
My kids will come.
so December 1st is Wayne and
I'll do it with Wayne.
Andy. Okay, you guys will get calendar invites for these. So yeah, you'll go.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on, discussion of Pocket Park and electric installation.
That's me. Real quick, so we've had some discussion internally and with a few council members about the appearance of the Marvin Gardens Pocket Park and just how dead things look over there. We've been in discussion with the HOA to potentially tap into their existing well. So we are entertaining the option with them to enter a shared well agreement. They're considering it at their board level. They'll report back to me at the end of the month. So I'll have some more information for you all if that's an option. If it is, it's the cheapest way that we can do without digging a well ourselves.
Which subdivision?
Weddington Chase.
Okay.
So I'll have some more information back to you on that. Electric, we don't have plans for that. So if that's something council is interested in doing, we'd have to figure
I think I would mention electric if we needed to
do the well.
do the well.
So then I'll report back to you in October, when the HOA reports back to me if they're willing to do that shared well.
So they do not have anything. So do we have a location for the well?
We do, yes.
Okay.
It's right across the street, so. And they have some existing landscaping that's across the road, so we feel like there's lines already over on that side that we would potentially just be able to tap into. We don't know yet, so we'll wait to hear back from them
When did you say you'd report back?
in October.
Do you need any motions or
I don't, it was just an update.
just a heads up?
Mhm.
Okay, moving on. Next up, we'll discuss and consider entering agreement with vendor to be determined for a 3-year audit contract at a price not to exceed TBDs.
Oh, we get packets for this when we're allowed?
And direct manager to execute agreement.
So we issued an RFP on September and the departments that got 20 auditing. We created the list from recommendations from the.
Can't hear anything.
Oh, dang it. So sorry.
Microphones.
Should I start over? Yep. Okay. We issued the RFP on September 1st, and we sent the RFP to 20 auditing firms, and we compiled the list from the treasurer's website. Proposals were due today by 2 p.m. We received 4 proposals, and you can see them on the matrix that I passed out. Staff evaluated the audit firms based upon their prior experience and qualifications of their personnel in performing governmental audits, their technical qualifications. And I just wanted to say that we're required to have our accounts audited by an independent auditor each year, but the statute doesn't require us to change auditors or put out an RFP every year. The LGC recommends that governments issue RFPs every 3 to 5 years as a best practice, but it's not required. So we discussed this for quite a long time today, and after analyzing all the proposals, the staff recommends that we enter a contract with S. Preston Douglas and Associates. It is our current one. And
It's a 3-year agreement,
it is.
so we won't hear about this again for another 3 years. Well, I'm hearing.
Yeah. So I have copies of all of the proposals here for all of you. If you'd like to look through them, you're welcome to. You know, you can see here, they're highlighted in the dark blue. They have they're currently, they have 50+ government audit clients, 25 years of experience, 45 municipalities, and you kind of move over to the right here and see their price. And that's kind of how we went through selecting and their experience.
And obviously that since we've been using them, we haven't had issues with them.
That was gonna be my next question. Do you enjoy working with them?
I really enjoy working with them. They're great.
I just have one question. Because
Absolutely.
the first one has twice as many things that say they do, but I gather that's a lot of fluff work in there that doesn't really mean anything.
Well, and also, I'm sure SP Douglas, they do additional services, but I took it out of the RFP. I didn't do any research on the website, so.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
Yeah. And really, I don't need them for, thankfully, a lot of those items on there. So I really just need them to audit our financial statements. So
They just want to make it look.
yes, they just put a lot of information in here. So, and you know, it's another great option, but the price is double. So that's kind of how I we landed on S. Preston Douglas again.
And you liked it.
I love them. Yeah, it's great. They're great to work with. So, I wanted to see if we could move forward with.
Okay.
Yes, let's move forward with that.
Did you draft a motion?
So moved.
So I need a motion.
Chaplain, do you have an issue with utilizing the same firm for another 3 years? I mean, I know the LGC says
Switch it up.
switch it
No,
up
I
or
think
put it
it's-
out there.
I think it's good to let people know that you may switch every 3 years and you're going to look at other options. But I don't think that means you have to. But I think that's always going to be on their radar, knowing that you may look at this again in 3
So
years.
they should keep their customer service up here.
Was customer service is also having them know someone else may be looking at their prior years books in the
I
future.
feel like we just
Okay.
did this.
No, we did not.
I know, but if time flies.
Time flies when you're having fun. Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to approve the contract for fiscal year 23 audit with S. Preston Douglas Associates and direct the village manager to execute the contract.
For the amount as stated.
There is no,
$12,700.
not to exceed $13,225.
It's 12,750 for the first year, 13,000 for the second year, 13,225 for the third year.
I can't add that high.
You could just say 14,000 for the next 3 fiscal years.
I just said 13,225. It won't go over that for the next 3 years.
Per year.
Further discussion.
Okay, further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, discuss and consider entering agreement for Holiday Light Installation and direct staff to prepare future budget amendment from contingency.
So now,
And you can do this.
I was just about to volunteer you, Joe.
so now that we have our nice village hall, we figured we would highlight it with Christmas lights this year, or holiday lights, I should say. So before you is a proposal for the holiday lights to be installed at Marvin Village Hall and Eford Park, not to exceed $7,000. And that is us to lease the lights. They would come out and repair them if something should happen. They would also take them down, so we wouldn't have to worry about storage of the lights.
Or liability of our
Or
staff putting them on.
So we're doing park and here?
Yes.
Correct.
Not to exceed, okay. Did we, and I know we talked about this, did we ever put a tree out there and pay attention? And an evergreen out in the corner?
No, Andy has not planted my Christmas tree on the corner yet.
No, one was planted, but it didn't make it. It died, so.
It's because we didn't have irrigation.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I know, but I'm just getting my head wrapped around. Do you have someone in mind for Christmas tree?
This is a quote.
I know.
Oh, this is a Christmas tree? What are you talking about?
No, the holiday
I
light
mean, what are you talking about?
installation.
Christmas tree's not on the agenda.
I know it's not, but listen, when you're doing a holiday light installation, usually there's a Christmas tree involved, but
Not usually, not at my house, there's not. I put my
No, we're
Christmas
just
tree up.
talking about, we're just talking about the town hall.
These
We're
are just lights.
Decorating town hall. Now,
holiday lights.
Wait, this is just for the lights on the actual building
yeah,
itself,
this is
so
just for
around the
town
top
hall. This is
of
just
the building.
Right.
Now, let me
Okay.
ask a question about this, because I've inquired, on a personal basis, the costs and stuff. It always seems like, there's the initial cost, because you're getting the lights, you're buying the lights and everything else. And subsequently, it's cheaper every year. So like, it's cheaper the years after, because the first year is always the more expensive.
So that's a good question, but this is for leased lights, so I don't think that's gonna happen in subsequent years because we're just leasing the lights. We could probably try to negotiate that with them to see if they would be willing to do something in perpetuity, but this current contract is just for leasing. Leasing the lights for a good 2 months.
I mean, this just seems, it depends on what, how you want it framed out, how we want it framed out, how we want it to look. I'm sure you stood outside with whomever and said,
There's pictures, look at the pictures.
I'm not gonna see the pictures. Hang on.
It's literally just putting it on the curb and gutter, or the curbing of,
Like that, I want it to look nice. If anybody has driven past my house at the holidays,
gutter.
my house looks amazing.
Precision.
It's who did my house. It's basically who does all of Innisbrook.
I'm just gonna, I'm not saying judge, I'm just saying,
That's
for
a good
what
price.
I'm looking at, I know I've had my house looked at, doing the bottom, kind of the same way. And it's, in fact, my house is almost, looks like this. And it seems high, but I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there.
They do my house is $5,000. This is an extra building. This is a good price. And they put it up, no liability, and if something breaks, they come out. All the time, and then you gotta figure out which bulb it is, and you gotta go up and then. Andy has to get up on the roof.
So do y'all want to consider?
I'm gonna make a motion to enter agreement with Precision Painting for installation of holiday lights at a rate not to exceed $7,000.
So moved. I'd like to discuss that further, because if you're spending that much on Christmas lights, I'd like you to buy me something really nice this year.
Buy yourself something really nice, Clark.
All right, so we have a motion on the table. Andy, unless you can do it for less, further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. I'll get back to my screen now. Hold on.
Not like that. Nope, not like that, like that. There you go.
There we go. Oh,
Oh, no, you gotta go back in now. You messed it up.
oh my God.
All right. Open topics. Does anybody have an open topic? I'm gonna take over since Joe's not paying attention.
No, I forgot my password. I
Nope.
guess.
Okay. Agenda items. Review of action item list.
Okay, Derek will confirm with the vendor on the roundabout irrigation and Village Hall irrigation. He'll report back at the September 29th work session. Christina will report back on the well and electric for the Pocket Park. We'll execute the contracts with Pyro Shows, Precision Painting, McAdams, S. Preston Douglas, Creative Home Media. We'll also execute the interlocal agreement with Union County for the $25,000 in transportation improvements. I'll send you all calendar invites for coffee with council, and Hunter will move forward with the CRTPO funding application.
Anybody else?
Nothing else? No. All right. Next up, review of, where we at? Ongoing action items.
Okay, ready, Austin?
Oh, get the pen.
Oh, dear. Okay, ready, Austin?
Yes.
Okay. On 3.8, you can remove the auditor RFP as it's completed. You can, on 5.26, you can complete the fireworks purchase. On 6.30, the flagpole, oh no, those are the pavers. Andy, you gotta get the pavers.
Yes, ma'am.
You can, 8:25 roundabout meeting, you can complete that. You can complete the 8:25 Bonds Grove Waxaw Marvin roundabout. That's it.
For the 728, the Target donut holes, we've sent mailers to donut holes again. Something short and sweet to the point. So we're hoping we get some good news out of that.
Fabulous. That's it.
Okay. All right, council comments. Andy, what do you got?
I'm good, Joe.
When do you come back?
This weekend.
All right. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Bob.
Just to reiterate, the fact that I think that the ribbon cutting ceremony was tremendous. I think I've never been prouder of a team of people that, especially with the staff, that put together just a great event. It was a lot of work, and it was first class. So I was just really proud of the whole event, the whole day. So thank you, staff. You all did a great job. I mean, it was fantastic. And of course, council members that all, participated to make it that way too.
Wayne. Want to thank the staff and congratulate. He doesn't want to look at anybody. He looks down. Austin for his achievement in proving his. Both feet. Okay. That's it.
Anything else? Go, Jamie.
I reiterate the whole thing about the staff, the ribbon cutting. Again, every month we continue to go back to staff because y'all do really a good job on everything. Whatever the objective is, you go beyond it. And a special thanks to Slash.
Oh,
is that
Slash.
Slash?
Jill does slash.
Slash. No, a big thanks out to Deputy Montgomery as well. He left us and has moved over to a new responsibility, but he has moved on to the side. He's gone to the dark side. No, but a special thanks to him for all he's done for many years here, and again to Tommy for for all the law enforcement and welcoming in our new deputy as well. So y'all stay safe and
Appreciate all you do.
Thanks, Joe, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to reiterate, thanks to staff because you guys always do a great job. I also wanted to thank the public for coming out to the ribbon cutting. It was amazing. And then I was super excited. We had a bunch of people in the audience today. It was awesome. We had like people talking and public comments. I thought it was great. So I personally invite you to our next meeting, public. We'd love to see you. And to piggyback off of, thank you so much, Mason, but also welcome back Ed Swan, our new deputy. So we're excited about that. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Again, I'll piggyback on what other councils have said. Thank you, staff, and congrats, Austin. Special shout out to both Derek and Jill for all that you did for the ribbon cutting. I know you spent a lot of time in it. It was just done so well. And we did get a lot of compliments. One of the best compliments was from one of the county commissioners as he's looking around and he's like, this is what I expected from Marvin. So it was kind of a nice, Mr. Ray. Dennis Ray. I think he got here an hour early or something. So, but thank you for doing that. So I also had a chance, just so you know, I went to the Waxhaw meeting that they had where they had an individual from Raleigh area, a planner, and talking about what's happening in this area. And I will say that a lot of really good information from that. One being that North Carolina is, you know, the top 5 states of people are coming. They're leaving California, they're leaving New York, they're, you know, leaving these areas and they're coming here. So this stuff and what we do with all of that. So there's a lot of questions, but bottom line is I believe it will be available on YouTube is what I was told. So I really encourage not only just council and staff, if you'd like, but obviously the community to go on to the Waxhaw website and pull up that. It was an hour speak. It was a lot. I was taking pictures of a lot of slides and just good information. And I just got to say, we got to be ready. We got to be ready with what to expect because it's coming regardless. There's not much to do. That we can change. It's just how we react to it or maybe get ahead of it, let's just say. Appreciated Christina coming out with the meeting with Waxhaw Mayor and their staff, as well as Weddington was there. And I know, Andy, you joined us with their staff. And those were, before that, we used to do the beer down at the beer garden. It was just a mayor's event. We'd talk about stuff that's going on. So we did get some good information about potential, about how CRTPO can possibly join us at a work session and stuff. But I'd like to see something where we can continue and maybe pull different council members and maybe Hunter, you know, if it's a luncheon or something like that that we could do and try to coordinate that, you know, it's just informal, but maybe a quarterly thing where we, you know, meet and discuss what's going on to keep that on the agenda. So, and then finally, Gene Stowe reached out to me. He's the guy that wrote the book, Inherit the Land. They're really down at the end. They're trying to get some waivers signed off and stuff, but they're still looking for either some companies to pony up. They need about $50,000 to make this thing go, for the movie to go nationwide. So whether it's individuals that want to help pony up with that. So I'm just giving him a shout out. I know he's done a lot of work with his book. And, you know, you think back about what Marvin was 100+ years ago and where we're at today. I'm pretty proud, again, going to the ribbon and what we're doing here. Pretty damn proud of all of you. So thank you for that. So with that, I'm going to need a motion to move into closed session based on what?
Yep. So I'm going to make a motion to move into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A3 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body to protect attorney-client privilege.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Andy, we can't call you.
I know.
Enjoy your night.
All right, you too.
Bye, Felicia.
Call me when you get back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know, but I was just using that as a little big place. Yeah, yeah, I was just using that as.